Hey everyone, welcome to Two Car Pros. My name is Ryan, and today I'm going to be showing you exactly how to replace the high beam, headlight, and turn signal bulb on the front end for a BMW 328i from 2009. This is not that bad as far as replacing headlight bulbs go. I've certainly replaced harder ones and easier ones, but this is not bad. This is like a medium difficulty. And I don't even think you need to jack the car up in the air or remove the tire or anything like that. You can just kind of get to it through an access port, where I'll show you. Doing this work yourself ensures that the work is done correctly and you actually are getting new headlight bulbs and you're not getting some used ones from a shady shop or something like that. Not to mention the cost. If you took this to the BMW dealer or a mechanic, they're probably going to charge you right around $400 to do all the bulbs for the front. And the bulbs are only $25, $40 total or something like that. It's quite a cost difference and quite a savings if you do this yourself. And it is my belief that you could do this in any garage type situation. Heck, you could probably even do it on the side of the road. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump in. So in this video, I'll be showing you how to replace your high beam, headlight, and turn signal. However, the only bulb I'm actually going to be replacing is our headlight, but this guide applies to all three bulbs because the way you get to them is exactly the same. So on this BMW, it is actually fairly easy to replace your headlight bulbs. All you need to do is remove this access panel here, and you don't even really need to lift the car up in the air. I've actually already done the passenger side off camera to make sure it's possible. The thing I thought was most helpful was to, and you can do this from the driver's seat by turning the wheel, is to turn the wheel into whatever side you're working on, or if you find it easier, you can turn it away, give you a little more room to work in here, whichever way you feel more comfortable, but it is possible to do it without lifting the vehicle up. However, because this is a video guide, I'm also going to be removing our wheel and removing our inner fender liner, as well as our access panel. And again, this is just so I can film. You do not need to remove the inner fender liner or the wheel, but it will help out if you are finding things particularly difficult. You could, of course, go that route. So here is our access panel, and it's the same on both sides, driver and passenger, just happening to be doing the driver. And what you want to do is take a large standard screwdriver and rotate these fittings like that. Very easy. Now, these fittings often round out, and you can't put a screwdriver in here and you can't turn them. What do? Is you grab a pair of channel locks, link down below in the description, and just grab the outside of it and turn it like that. And it won't matter how worn this fitting gets. And we can just remove that, and it'll give us our access. Now, you can replace all three of these bulbs with just this access panel removed. But I'm gonna go ahead and remove the inner fender liner, so that way you, on YouTube, can see what I'm doing much better. Because see how good the video would be if I didn't remove this? It'd be very hard to see what I'm doing, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the center fender liner. There are just like maybe 6 or 7 8mm fasteners that hold it in, and it just comes straight down and out of the way. So here is our light assembly, and you can see this is how we're gonna have access to our blinker, headlight, high beam. So let's go in hardest to easiest, and we're gonna start with our high beam. There's a metal bar right here that needs to be unclasped from the housing. And the way you do that is you can just pry it up and around. I'm trying to do this with a tool so you can see what I'm doing, but you could use your fingers just as easily. There we go. So just pull it back and up, and then we can remove this and get it out of there. So this kind of looks like your high beam, and it isn't, but it is in our way. So let's just go ahead and unplug it. We'll store that out of our way. And actually our high beam is kind of up and around this corner, right where my pointer finger is. So it's going to be a little challenging to film, so I hope you bear with me. So we need to go around this corner, and right there, that is the back of our high beam. So we need to unplug it and undo that clamp. And this might be a little challenging doing this blind, just by feel. So if you're doing the high beam, you might want to consider taking the inner fender liner off. I'm going to do my best to show this on camera. So what you need to do is reach in there, find the connector, and just unplug it, pulling it straight back. There we go. And then there's a clip up there, It's going to be on the top of the connector, or top of the bulb, I should say. And we're going to move that, feels like a wire. We're going to move that up and to the right. So you're going to kind of do this motion, up and to the right. And then the clamp is going to flip down, giving you the bulb. I'm sorry if that was not super clear, but the good news is that the assembly for the high beam is exactly the same as the headlight. The clasp assembly for the high beam is exactly the same as the headlight, so when I do the headlight, that will be much more clear. So we can make sure we have the same type of high beam, link down below in the description, and pay attention to the high beam. Check out the back. So on the back of this, notice it has a big tang at the top, and that's often referred to as like a timer. So this needs to point straight up, and it's going to fit into a groove on the socket itself. Here's the wire clasp I was referring to. So when you take it off, there's the clamp, there's the clasp. You move it up and to the right and away from that hook. You see that at the end of my finger? Right there? You move that up and away and the bulb can come down. So to install it is the reverse. Let's do it. So what we can do is take our new high beam bulb, put that into its home. You'll feel it go into its groove like that. And then you get the wire, clasp, and get that hooked on. It's a little challenging to see, I do apologize. And then we can take our plug and plug that back in. It's just a blade connector, there's no safety or anything, so just push it on. There we go. And we can plug this back in as well. Again, just pushes on like that. Perfect. Now we can do the headlight. So here's the main star of the show. It's really easy. There's this wire clasp up here. We can just undo that with our thumb. Push that up. Move this housing down and up out of the way. That exposes the back of the bulb. So on the back of this bulb, this is exactly what the high beam looks like. So if you were curious to what the high beam looked like behind all the darkness and shadows, this is exactly it. It looks no different, and I think the bulbs are either the same or super similar. So what we can do is remove our connector, and that just keep wiggling that and pull that straight back. There we go. That out of the way, stuff that in front. Now, here's this wire clasp I was talking about. So we move this up and to the right, and that gets it off this hook on the end of my finger. Like that. And then we can remove our bulb. So my replacement bulb here today is a Philips H7. The link down below is of course in the description. Now, you can see the tang goes in that groove right there, and that applies to the high beam as well. So we can just set that in its home. Look at that, sits in there perfect. And then we can raise this clasp, hook it onto its hook, just like that, super easy. And then push our connector on. Ridiculously easy. And then we can put our cover on. That just goes in exactly how it came out. Make sure the clasp up top is flapped up. Push that down into position, and then bring the wire clasp down until you hear that really nice gratifying click. Then we can replace our high beam cover, these weather covers, and it has these two grooves on the bottom that correspond with grooves it can fit in. Flap that up as long as you make sure this bar is up and out of the way, and then bring it down until you hear that nice click. So last but not least is our blinker, and how you get to that is you just twist this to the left. So if this cover is on like ridiculously tight, what I recommend is a pair of long needle noses so you can distribute force as evenly as you can. And just be gentle with it. You really don't want to snap it off. That'd be such a bummer. I have rotated it as far to the left as I can, counterclockwise, and then I'm just gonna pull straight back. There we go. And it might be a little challenging. See, I've already broken off some plastic there trying to get that off. And the reason that is because the socket it is on actually interfaces with these electrodes, and I'm pretty sure that's what makes this so challenging to remove. And then we can remove the bulb. So on this bulb socket, what you can do is pull on this bulb straight out and replace it. And the bulb is like 90 cents or something like that. But a word of caution, the socket it's in is very old at this point, and it's just brittle plastic. It's open to the elements. So I've already snapped a lot of the handle off, as you can see. I would recommend getting a whole new socket. They're not very expensive, and it's going to future-proof you in case this bulb goes out again, especially if this is the original unit, which I'm pretty sure this one is. And you can see if you look down into the socket, on the sides, there's two copper tangs basically, and those correspond with these two on the inside of the socket. So you can see that at the end of my pointer finger. So what we need to do is line up these copper tangs with those copper tangs, so they're going to go side to side. When we put the socket back in, it's going to look something like this, and then push and rotate the whole thing to the right. You just want to make sure that it can't fall out on its own accord. It doesn't rotate very much. There we go. That looks perfect. So I'm going to replace our inner fender liner. And again, this step's optional, but if you're doing the high beam, I certainly recommend it. That would be really challenging to get without taking this off. There's like 7-8mm fasteners that hold this inner fender cover in. There's also a nut over here, which I'm missing. That's just kind of the theme of this car. And then we can replace our access panel. However, if you did not remove your inner fender liner, you can just skip right to this step where we put our access panel back on. So now we can replace our access panel. It just kind of goes on like that. Then we can rotate these two into their position. Again, you can just use a standard screwdriver. Oops. Like this, until they're rotated in their spot. Or if the standard screwdriver slots are all hogged out, use those pair of channel locks like I did earlier and grab the outside, and then you can rotate it. So before we go anywhere, we can verify that our high beam is working. Perfectly good. Our headlight is working. Very good. And our blinker is working. Very good. Now this car is ready for the road. You just need to do the other side exactly the same way. It's just a mirror of the driver's side. So that's how to replace your headlight, high beam, and turn signal bulbs for a 2009 BMW 328i. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below and I'll do my best to get to them. If this video has helped you at all, please consider giving it a like, and I hope I've earned your subscription here today on YouTube. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.